Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. And does the drama continue with Hasbro and WoTC? It's becoming as common as the weather, to be honest with you. We're going to get into it, but really, what I wanted to showcase are beside me on a big stack right here are some RPGs that you may not have heard of or you have heard of and didn't think existed anymore from like the 90s to the 2000s. Be creations before the OGL from Dungeons and Dragons and from other companies. So I thought I'd showcase some of them. Some of them are odd. Some of them have like strange origins. Others are you scratch your chin and go, I didn't know that existed. So this might be an opportunity for some of you out there to pick up something that's a little bit different, a little bit odd, and connect it to some really big names. So let's get into it. Let's get some let's get some what do you call that intro in here and get some music going, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about today. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for coming in. Co-hosts, get your scripts ready and let's be. All right, let's get on into it. Let's cut that intro real short here. Guys, thank you very much for joining me here. Live 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not aware of what time it is on your part of the world, but yeah, it seems as if and Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast and Kyle Brick and the whole thing. It's wow, wow. So now, mind you, this stack of books is sitting on a chair next to me. It's normally where a little kitty sits right now. Yeah. Oh man, Mike's like setting my face just to nostalgia. Yeah, we're gonna go through some, and there are some weird connections to some of these books. But I want to get into a little bit of show a Twitter thread here. Okay, so for those who don't know, because it's constantly changing, but Wizards of the Coast through D&D Beyond, from the overlords of Hasbro, have released what is being called a how do you say what's it's being called an OGL playtest. So here we go. All right, let's might as well just let you guys see me navigate through this. Sorry about this, and I know you can hear my finger clicking. My microphone's right over my mouse here. But all right, let's get into it. All right. So no, we don't need no, we don't need music. We just need the screen. So over here on D&D Beyond, we have ourselves starting the OGL playtest, air quotes. Okay. So, or single air quoted. And essentially what they are spouting, telling us is that, because I'm going to click this to read more. It says, today we're presenting a draft of OGL 1.2 and announcing a Creative Commons license that puts D&D's core mechanics into your hands. So this, and mind you, the wording in this is actually really good. I'm not sure. The rumor is that Kyle hasn't been there for more than 3 months or so. Maybe brought in from outside, maybe given a boost from the janitorial services. I know that's not right, because this person may be very nice. You know, my feeling is I believe Hasbro has dropped the hammer on the people at WoTC, and they're like, whatever. So anyway, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but they're talking about protecting the play experience and the OGL and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy. They're still talking about deauthorizing the OGL 1.0a. Now they're trying to go into a Creative Commons license. That it's really weird about how they want the rules out there, but they don't want, how do I explain, like they want to draw back the SRD. And listening to Roll for Combat, they were talking about how it's possible WotC could eliminate the SRD from the OGL, making it far more difficult to, I hate to say call copy and paste, but to use the rules of the game, but still try to write for the game. And then there's here's the right here is the open draft of the new game license, which is a pretty beefy document. It's crazy. So one of the, let's go to this because I want to share this tab. This is from Monty Cook Games. This is I want to draw up your comments here too as well. All right, here we go. A pretty fairly beefy Twitter thread, and it's pretty interesting, people's comments about it, because having not read it but listened to comments, they really doubled down on virtual tabletops, including specifically mentioning other virtual tabletops beyond D&D Beyond cannot digitally recreate anything that people could not create at their table, which is really strange. Meaning, like, you can have digital dice rollers and things doing math, but what they don't want or what they're saying you can't do. I have a giant ass fly, and it sees my screen, and now it just won't stop. And you can't do animations. Like, if you can do the math for a magic missile, but they're going to say you can't do animations for magic missile. It's really weird. Thanks, Deadman. Wayne says Hasbro maybe drop the hammer. Good. I don't know. It's the DM Lair spoke yesterday. I listened to what he had to say. He had a live stream and talked about something known as anchoring. Did my no, my camera did freeze. My camera sure did freeze. Okay, so let me turn this off. Let's go to here. Bam. I'm showing green, but my voice is out there, come on, stage 10. I'm using I use stage 10 as a testing. Well, I don't know. I got the pursed lips. Look at that. How strange that is. I'm going to keep on going. You know what? I'm going to replace this image. I will replace this image with yet another image. And this way I'll be down in the corner. Let's do this instead. That way I start moving, man. I can go back into these books, which is really what I wanted to show you. But whatever. Okay. All right, let's go with the co-host. Mike says, I saw another broadcast on this OGL 1.2 last night. It's still the same story, just with more refined language. I absolutely agree with you, because it feels like, what was the comment in Roll for Combat? It said it feels like now it's being written by really high-classed nuanced lawyers that are they're still doing the same thing using different language. And it almost feels like instead of going after us, the language is so they can make the document sound good, but then they can rescind the document in a way that's not very apparent. And it's pretty interesting. It's really strange. Um, yeah, Hasbro can't copyright animations. That's a complete falsehood. Otherwise, the entire video game industry might have something to say. But what they could, what they're probably going to do is say, hey, you use any of our material, our SRD, and you can't animate what's ours. And the fuzzy line will be, is Magic Missile and Fireball and I'm trying to owl bears and um, blink dogs, right? Those things are in the SRD, and you could make an argument that those things don't exist outside of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, legally, do we know, like, is a ball of fire, can they legally, copyright a ball of fire? No. But can they copyright Fireball? As it is in Dungeons and Dragons and having a character shoot it out of their hands and explode. There's a fine line there, right? Yeah, Wave's like image replaced with oops. Yeah, we do have a problem here, and I don't want to refresh my page because I'm pretty sure it's going to drop me out. Yeah. John Wright mentions they're haggling, asking for way more than we'll accept, so they can then back down slightly in the vain hope that we'll accept some of what they're proposing. Yes. Yeah, Wayne. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the camera. I don't know, so that's why I'm doing it. Okay, so yesterday, talking about what John Wright just mentioned, and I'm sure you guys are already thinking about this. The DM's Lair had a live stream, and he was talking about something in the business industry known as anchoring. So in other words, and he voiced it like this: you are going in for a job interview, and this deals with trying to make deals as well. So what happens is you come in with your worst deal. So you're going for a job where you're only supposed to make about $80,000 to $100,000. But when you come in and they ask, and what's going to happen is the boss is going to ask you, so what kind of what kind of salary are you looking for? And so what you do is you start out with the worst possible scenario. Well, I looked around and the industry standard for someone in my job position is $150,000. And you punch them in the face with something that they just cannot accept. And then what you do is you back down and you go, but, I've seen salaries drop as low as 130,000. So yeah, I'm really willing to haggle. And then, so what happens? That person goes, what, 150,000? Oh, whew, this person's willing to haggle. And then maybe they come back at you with like $120,000. And then you go, yeah, I was thinking about 135. And then they go, yeah, great. And they shake your hand because the extreme worst part is up top. And then we feel better. And he also brought up the idea of someone goes to rob you. They put a gun to your head and go, I'm going to kill you if you don't give me all your money and your stuff. And you go, please don't kill me. And then they say, well, I'll shoot you in the leg instead since you've given me some of your stuff. And you go, thank you so much, right? Because you don't want to die. So the gunshot to your leg feels better compared to the worst. Now, nobody wants to get shot in the leg at all. You don't want to get robbed. You don't want to get shot. But given us being gun shy, you know what I'm saying? So I truly believe that now that the leaked document, leaked or not, was supposed to be put out there and have we weren't supposed to sign it at all. And it leaked. It got worse. It hit the business industry. It gets in the Forbes magazine and all this kind of stuff. People who have nothing to do with role playing games starting to talk about it, and it's like, well, maybe we could, you know, come up with some other kinds of um, ways around this document, and we go, oh yeah, maybe we'll accept some of it. Maybe. It's really weird. Yeah, Wayne's like, maybe Deadman can reach out with his Jedi powers and jiggle the camera a bit. I don't know what's going on here. I'll try to find some kind of like image or video or something that's a whole lot better than looking at my frozen pursed face in the dark. Oh, I can't show my books. All right. Maybe I could turn my camera on and off. I don't know. Maybe that might be. All right. So anyway, let's get back into what you guys have to say. Deadman says Hasbro replaced the blue and pink meeple in the game of life. Rainbow meeple. Oh, here we go, you guys. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't understand you guys having. It seems like an irrational fear. I think people are just upset about things that don't matter. Mike says there's also language in it that mimics the change at any time nonsense. Yeah, except that now it's if not enforceable, license is invalid. I heard the same thing about instead of them saying, well, we can change the license. What's happening is they're throwing in language that says something like, if we can't enforce the the contract, or if there's something unenforceable in the contract, then the license is invalid, which allows them to renege on the license that they want you to sign in the first place, which means that they can come up with another one. Yeah. Like says, if fireballs exist in real life, talk to the military. It's called explosions. Yeah. I know. Yeah, Wayne says sorry, but a wizard shooting a fireball came along long before WoTC. True, but I don't know. I think there are D&D-isms that would be hard to scrape out of, say, a virtual tabletop, or from a virtual tabletop where other people are uploading it, where Dungeons and Dragons could say, nah, that's our IP, right? Even though we allowed it to be in the SRD, if they scrape it back, I'm trying to think of some other D&D isms, but it's difficult to think about it. But there are some things in Dungeons and Dragons that, while you see them in other games willy nilly, like here and there, that it's very much a part of D&D iconography, or they could argue that it's part of their iconography. But anyway, Mike says WoTC talked to an enchanter named Tim about fireballs. He works with Python. Yep. Deadman says might need to do a hard drive wipe and refresh, reinstall Windows. Good news, you don't have to work Sunday. Yes, I don't have to. Oh man. Yeah. It's yeah, we'll talk when we get into. We're gonna have to hold on when we get into February. We're gonna have a talk about like um, um, people being people being afraid of woke culture, and this and wokeness and inclusivity, and we're gonna talk about the whole thing, because there are people talking past each other because they are focused on the wrong things. And I can kind of see where you guys are coming, because you guys have a limited ability to talk in the chat. But I see where you're coming from. But I think we're missing a point, because it comes from two. It's a combination of doing a thing and how that thing is done, right? And some people are mad that a thing is being done. Other people are mad at how a thing is done. And the two things sometimes don't mix. Let me see if I can. This fucking. Oh, this camera. Okay, so here we go. Let's try. All right. Let's try this. I reset it. There we go. Woohoo! Fuck. Yeah, I had to. Okay. Wayne says D&D took many ideas that already existed in the world to create the fairy tale land we like to play in. They can't own those things. They can try. They can try. Hey, Ian, what's going on there? Okay, let's get in. Okay, all right. This ongoing drama with Hasbro, I call it Hasbro, WoTC, the license, this playtest. We're going to get on it, but we got to get into some game because don't worry about it, Wayne. And listen, we this is a safe place for us to talk about those things. So I'm not saying that you are uninvited to be here. I'm not saying you shouldn't express what you feel. I'm saying that's why we're here. That's why we're here to talk. You know, other places it's echo chambers, and what I don't want are echo chambers. What I love is the ability to have conversations, and I want to. Sometimes I get frustrated because people have opinions when it sometimes it's a lot easier just to tap someone on the shoulder that it actually impacts and ask their opinion about it. So, okay. So one of the, do I have it here? Is this, please tell me. Source book. Oh, it's not here. Okay. All right. Um, we, as we are getting frustrated with WoTC and 5th edition, lots of people are talking about other role-playing games to play. And I thought I would go back in time, slowly go back in time and rewind, because I know a bunch of you guys are of a person of a certain age that remembers the 80s and 90s and 2000s and such, and to find some things. So here, this is a strange but yet available, if you can find the actual books, and I'm sure you if you do a little bit of search you can find it. An alternative to fantasy gaming, and this is from White Wolf Gaming. So I'm going to show you, and I don't want to walk away from the camera, and I don't have it around me, and it's not in the stack. I'm surprised I didn't pull that. Anyway, so here we have White Wolf, the White Wolf game system, Dark Ages. So this book, this first book is Dark Ages Mage. And in Dark Ages Mage, because this was mentioned yesterday, and there's Dark Ages Mage. I'm sorry, let me pull up the next one. This is Dark Ages Fae, and unfortunately, I do have Dark Ages Vampire, but this is called Veil of Night, and it's a source book and a source book for the Middle Ages with vampire. And as you can see from the cover, it goes into like Persia, Constantinople, little parts of Egypt and the Middle East and things like that. And it's it's pretty interesting. Hey, Wayne says no echo chambers. Most boring conversations to have are ones you have with people who nod and agree with you 100%. Yeah, exactly. And okay, so here's the other thing too. Sometimes it's not about agreeing with someone else. There's a movie pundit I listened to, and I liked how he put it. It's not about agreeing with the person you're listening to when you're having disagreements. Sometimes it's about refining why it is you disagree with that other person. So maybe let's go with movies because it's not as sensitive. Maybe you dislike a movie someone else likes, and the person that loves this movie is like, I don't understand why you don't like this movie. You're a stupid dummy. And it's like, no, maybe the person that doesn't like the movie refines why they don't like it and go, oh, it's because of music, sound, editing, terrible acting choices, the cinematography, the maybe the script was written really bad, that kind of thing. Like, oh, here's why I don't like the movie, instead of just shrugging your shoulders and going, well, I just didn't like it. So again, you could absolutely positively disagree with what I have to say, but I would love for you to be able to refine what it is that there's a disagreement about, And I think that's where we're brilliant, and we have a different place in the rest of the world. Okay, Dark Ages. Dark Ages of Fae, Dark Ages Mage, there's Dark Ages Vampire. I believe there is a Dark Ages Werewolf, and this uses the White Wolf system. It uses the D10 dice pool. This is from first edition, written off the first edition White Wolf games, but this is a Dark Age bent. And what I love about these is that they actually went in and rewrote a ton of the material that is not in the modern day version of all of the Mage the Ascension, Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Changeling, Changeling the Dreaming, Wraith the Oblivion. So these books, now someone mentioned the other day that that's right, Deadman, thank you. See, look at that. Deadman says Werewolf did Wild West instead of Dark Ages. Yes, there is a Werewolf Wild West version, so it didn't fit into Dark Ages. I'm surprised they didn't get into Dark Ages, because they could have really dove into like monsters in the night and that kind of thing. But whatever, that part of it doesn't matter. The point is that the books in the background were rewritten. So in Mage the Ascension, they have something called Paradox, in which all of humanity believes magic doesn't exist. And so when you cast magic that breaks reality, you start gaining paradox. Instead, magic is done a little bit differently. So it's not really called paradox. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find the character sheet back here. It's not paradox. It's called backlash. And so instead of mages casting spells and creating paradox, they basically start drawing across the weave of magic, and they create backlash. And that backlash is created because you have magic in the world, you have religion in the world, and technology is coming in the world as well. The Magic Doll says there is a Werewolf Dark Ages. I don't have that one, but I presume that they went through, and the book's not very thick. And what I like about it, it's the beginning. If you guys know anything about, if you know anything about the modern day war in, say, Mage the Ascension, which is the modern day book with the technocracy and such, in this version you could play fantasy, but instead there are like true mages versus like I'm going to call them mages of the church, people who believe in faith and the power of divinity, and that's how they focus their magic. And then there's technology in this world, and those are like alchemists and apothecaries and astronomers and open sea navigators and things of that nature. And yeah, you guys are in our co-hosts are in the chat talking about like Dark Ages Werewolf is a supplement for Vampire the Dark Ages and such. So if you really want to play a very dark, brutal version of the White Wolf games and you love fantasy, that might be a way for you guys to kind of convince the players like, oh, we want to play swords and sorcery, and then you go, well, I got something pretty dark. Something really cool in Dark Ages Fae is this idea of Fae creatures having promises, wood promises, stone promises, iron promises, and magic that deals with the seasons. Winter, spring, autumn, fall. I mean, autumn. You know what I'm saying? Autumn, fall, same thing. But you get the point. Very great materials. These came out during the heyday of during the end of first edition. And listen, they put out a ton of books. I've got a shelf and a half, and that's not nearly half the books they even produced back in my man cave. But yeah, Veil of Night, I like this, and I was actually gonna bring this up for February, Black History Month, about games that really delve into or is a great place for non hyper Eurocentric type of adventuring, where it's not really about knights and kings and queens, and it's a little bit more into other cultural things, so expressions. So I kind of like that. Okay, so let's get away from that, but we're still going to deal with White Wolf, because I know you guys are already going to know what this is. And if you guys like a bucket of dice, if you like dice pool games, we're going to talk Exalted. Um, there's a ton of books in this line. This, if you could tell by the artwork on the front of this, it's very extremely anime related. It is medieval. No, it is fantasy heavy, medieval light, and it's very much over the top. Like I said, buckets of D10s. If you can find any videos of people like live playing Exalted. Exalted is great, and it is. How do I explain this? This game system, other than the bucket of D10s that you're going to end up rolling for your characters, this game completely embraces the over-the-top, high action, high fantasy, you know, shooting an arrow and splitting a mountain in half, punching the ground and having it shatter with lava spill up. It's great. It's awesome. Dead Man says, had an Exalted character that could do over 150 dice of damage to a single target. Crazy high. Yeah, it's this game is very much dice hunting. You want to get as many dice as you can roll for it. They have like a feat tree system, but it's not bad how they do it. Hey, it literally incorporates. You have characters who literally begin to do the power 9,000 thing with like energy spilling around them and stuff like that. And this game world has a number of factions in it. It's extremely OP. Oh no. But here's what I love about Exalted. If you have players that really want to play OP characters, this game kind of encourages you to do it. It's built around the idea that you are very OP. So it has a number of factions. So the original game book, you're playing heroes, the Exalted, and there are enemies known as the Dragon Blooded. You can see here is the Dragon Blooded, and the Dragon Blooded are kind of elemental powered from the elemental dragons, and they kind of play the bad guys. And this book allows you to play those people. So the main characters, they kind of want you to play are rebels against a harsh world, but maybe that harsh world needs people to control it, and so you can play the Dragon Blooded, and then from that you can play the Abyssals. So some people want to play so some people really like to play the bad guys for some reason, so you could play the Abyssals. Yeah. Oh man, Timothy McCow. Hey, what's Reynolds? What's going on there? TMR. That means it's nearly doubled that damage total when he got a War Strider. Oh man. So there's a number of Exalted books. This is pronounced Auto Kythonians. I'm presuming it's Auto Kythonian there in the bottom. Doesn't matter. They are people from I guess from a far realm, the kind of machine worlds and things like that. Anyway, really awesome stuff. When was this? This is one of the later books, and this was written in, what is the publishing date? The date is 2005. So it's old, but it's not as old as some of these books that I'm going to show you. All right. This is a combination of a number of things. And I wanted to show it off because I think you guys would have some fun with this. Some people have a problem with Steve Jackson games. Autochthonians. Pretty good, cool book though. You really want to play it. All right, so what is this? You can see this is it's beaten up. It's about to fall apart. It's wild cards. It's GURPS. It's Steve Jackson games. So why am I showing this out of GURPS? I mean, I do have the GURPS book. It fell apart so badly that it's in a 3-ring binder. We mentioned that yesterday about, back in the 90s, us older folks using 3-ring binders to keep our books together. But I bring this up because I bring it up because of GURPS. GURPS is easily a 90s game that is still being played to this day. Okay. I bring up Steve Jackson games, but I also bring up Wild Cards. Wild Cards is a novel series, and there's a ton of books in the novel series. Let me see if I can bring this up here. I'm going to, let's see. I'm not mentioning the name. Cards, George R. Martin. And the reason why I bring it up is because Wild Cards was edited by George R. Martin. So I'll share this out to you guys. I'll share this out. There we go. Let's put the George R. Martin thing up here because it's pretty interesting if you're someone who is really into like superheroes, but you don't really know what it is that you want about it. Wild Cards was created, brought together by George R. Martin and Melinda M. Snodgrass by getting a number of writers. And George R. Martin was the editor, to write superheroes in a singular world, each of them picking different characters and making up their own characters and their own stories. And they wrote books in this superhero world, but they were written by writers that weren't into comic books. And so they used the backdrop of superpowers, but wrote it in a realistic way. And these books are very R-rated. They are very R-rated. And so there's books that were during the publishing history, because I'm going to slide down. This is on Wikipedia. Wild Cards is a series of science fiction, superhero, shared universe anthologies, mosaic novels, and solo novels. They are written by a collection of more than 40 authors, referred to as the Wild Cards Trust, and are edited by George R. Martin and Melinda M. Snodgrass. Set largely during an alternate history of post-World War II United States, the series follows humans who contracted the wild card virus, an alien virus that rewrites DNA and mutates survivors. And so one of the, let's stop sharing this and go back to the big screen. So one of the main things about Wild Cards is that people were called things based on playing cards. So if you got the virus, 90% of the people died from it. So you got this wild card virus, roll the dice, 90% of the time you would die, and you would die from your worst subconscious thoughts. So some people who got the virus would shrink into nothingness. Some people turned into a tree. Others turned into a puff of smoke. Others began drowning because of fluid in their lung. It was pretty nasty. The other 10% became known as the survivors. And out of them, 9% became jokers, which were mutated people, horrifically mutated people, but they still lived. And 1% became aces. And aces were basically what we would consider superheroes. They looked human, but they had power to control people's minds or grow very large, things like that. And it was pretty interesting. So if you're someone so this is a little shout out to George R. Martin, GURPS, Steve Jackson games, and the Wild Card novels. And this is your ability to play in the Wild Card universe. Strangely enough, and I know this is pretty adult language here. This is not for kids. This character right here gained power from tantric sexual magic. And yeah. Yeah. There was a young lady that lived in Jokertown, where the Jokers lived in New York City, and her skin turned invisible. So she would wear revealing outfits, but you couldn't see her skin. You just saw the muscles and tendons underneath, and you could see like blood vessels and things like that. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool in the novel series. And if I'm not Chrysalis, was that her name? Yes, yes, yes. And the there's been a number of attempts to get this on uh, television and movies and things, but it's really cool. Yeah. Hey, happy Friday. Yes, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, John Wright. Oh, you guys are talking among yourselves, but Dr. Turbid just says, "Oh hell yeah, I bought that on a whim and ended up getting into the novels." I started with the novels. We were friends, and one of my friends' mom was a librarian, so we would always, when new books came in, and she would find like science fiction and that kind of stuff, because we're kids hanging out in a library. Where's another cool place parents want us to hang out at? And when he found those novels, we would go into the library and pick them up. And there's like 40 plus. It's crazy how many novels were written. But the cool thing is that they were all written in the same world. So while the writers each picked characters, they intermingled and stuff. And I think that's really cool. Dr. Turmage said there's a TV show in the works. But no recent updates. Yeah, that's always happens. John Wright mentions from second edition forward, D&D was sanitized and purged of evil and naughtiness. Yes, it was. As Lorraine Williams wanted to appease soccer moms and preachers during the late 80s satanic panic, so first he was relatively dark and edgy. Yes, it was. And as a matter of fact, those of you who don't know this, who got into Dungeons and Dragons after the 80s and the satanic panic, you may or may not notice that the names of like the demons and devils and that kind of thing were changed very abruptly. It was like from second edition and previous to that. I mean, we had books that detailed, all the leaders of hell and the abyss and all that kind of stuff. And then it switched. They changed it, and then when they brought it back, that's when we got into something else. So I'm gonna pull up. Let's see. Let me fast forward into. Do I have it? No. There we go. Well, where's the rest of my books? Yeah, Kitty, where's the rest of my books? Okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else. Okay, because I'm going to end. I'm going to towards the end of this. I'm going to get up and go ahead and get the books and stuff. So I got to go through this real quick. This is a dog-eared. If you like giant robots fighting mecha, there's a ton of role-playing games out there that are for giant robots and mechanized combat. But this was an early one. And I bring this up. This is called Mechton. There was a version of this that was not very good called Mechton 1. It didn't have really good artwork. As you can see, this is very anime. But I want you to see who created this. Right down here. R. Talsorian Games. R. Talsorian Games? Who? What? Cyberpunk 2020. Yes, the same people that made Cyberpunk 2020. They use a somewhat similar rule set for here. I don't know if you could combine the two. I think it would be pretty easy. But there's another book behind this. Yeah, the Magic Doll. Yeah. Mechton Tech Book. They basically made a number of iterations of this. There's one called Jovian Chronicles, where it's basically giant robots in our own solar system, and there's a war happening in and around Jupiter and stuff called Jovian Chronicles. But these books came in a lot of iterations, and you can see that the book is like this, but it's turned sideways, because if you open it up, it's like a design manual. It's pretty cool. And I mean, it goes into having thought control and drones and yes, you design your. Let's see if we can pull up a character sheet. So you get a character sheet from the tech book. I mean, it goes into all the body locations and the types of weapons you have, and when you get hit in those weapons and your power plants and all that kind of stuff. Really, Mecton. It's one of the original, not original. I'm going to say from one of the original creators in role playing games from the '90s. I believe this Mecton 2 book was written. It's dog eared too, and it is 87. Mike Pondsmith, 1987, and a tech book came out in. I'm going to say, oh, where's the? I guess it's. I guess they don't have it. Oh, there it is, 1992. So really cool, really awesome games that are they available anymore? Probably if you go to Art Talsorian's website, maybe they have reprints, but uncertain, unsure, uncertain. Let's skip past this. Here's one that you guys may or may not know about. This was a playtest, but I have the original book. Again, this is so dog-eared, the cover's coming off, and the pages are shot. I call this, and it can be a little difficult to see the name, SLA Industries. I call it Slay Industries. And you want to talk about a dark, pseudo magic cyberpunk setting, not as popular as Shadowrun. This is pretty good. This happens on a distant world called Mort. It's about, they have TV shows dedicated to serial killers that follow them around. It's pretty wild. The Magic Doll says uses the same life path system as Cyberpunk 2020. There was conversion notes for the system somewhere for Cyberpunk and Mecton. Used to play it all the time. Me too. That's why they're dog-eared. I mean, they weren't dog-eared just because I throw them around. I mean, we open these books, split the binding and play these things all the time. Mike says, makes me think of Fast's original attempt at MechWarrior, their BattleTech RPG, which I didn't have, but I played a ton. That's since gone on to become a Time of War and then Destiny from CGL. Yep. They are available still from Art Talsorian's website. Sweet. Now, Slay Industries is it's a weird amalgam of it's very like goth punk in the sense that there's role playing races and things in here that look like the Predator. There's look at this. Let's see if I can get this artwork up in here. Oops, there we go. It's pretty cool. It's a player character race. There's mech warriors. There is magic known as the Ebb, and so it's known as it's like ebony magic. It's like the Ebb. It's high tech. It's let me see if there's some artwork in here about that showcases some of the armor and weaponry that you can find. There's some kind of cool vehicles in here, motorcycles and cars and kind of noir and stuff like that. Slay Industries just did a Kickstarter to bring this game back out. Pretty darn gritty. I feel a little bit too on the nose with the grittiness, but I don't know. Mike's like, the 90s was a race to see who could be more dark and gritty than the next. Yeah. Now this has been reprinted a number of times, and I believe what's the printing on this? Robin, created by Robin D. Laws, and nope. What's the year? 90. Okay, so this was 90. It was created in 96. This is 99, and this game is called Feng Shui. Now, it's not about moving your furniture around and getting your house built on a ley line and all that kind of stuff and getting some plants in your house. This is about Hong Kong action. And it has a meta setting to it. So there's an ancient setting in 1870. There's a far ancient, there's modern day, there's 1870, and then there's a far future setting. And Feng Shui, where one becomes the most John Woo wins. Yes, I love it. This game absolutely positively embraces every single action movie trope, especially from Hong Kong, And as that's moved over here to the United States, it's all slow motion action, backflips, running across walls, dodging bullets, blocking them with swords and all that kind of stuff. This game is everything. They have, for example, they have something in here called is it the Carnival of Slaughter? So let's read off some of these. Let's read off some of these archetypes that you can play. So each archetype basically has a special ability, and they are niche protected. So when you play these archetypes, no other archetype can basically beat you in what they do. So you could play an abomination, you could play a big bruiser. Everybody knows what a big bruiser is. There's the everyman hero and the cyborg. The everyman hero is like very lucky and plucky. The cyborgs, you guys know what cyborgs are. Let's go to anybody see a Jackie Chan movie? Any and all Jackie Chan movies? Karate Cop. You could play the killer. You got to play anybody that plays the killer is going to definitely look at all the John Wick movies, all the John Woo directed movies. There's of course you have to have a martial artist. And so this setting allows I just had a spike. This setting allows you to pick an action styled character from any time period and play them all together. And there is a slight meta world in which you go through time and you're defending feng shui sites, because if the bad guys control them, they can change time backwards and forwards to change the world. And so what's really cool about this is, let's say you have a modern day gunman like John Wick, and then you have an ancient samurai or something, and then you have a modern day thief, and then you have a future cyborg, and in your world, some magic wizard takes over and turns the entire world into an ancient battleground with demons and spells and medieval armies. Players can play all those same characters, and they might have to reset time again by capturing the feng shui site or multiple sites from the evil emperor wizard or something. And then maybe 3 sessions later, it's turned into a cyberpunk type world, and so on and so forth. So it's really cool. The other part of this is the action narrative. In the rules, it suggests punishing players for spamming abilities. Yes, it's very much John Wick the RPG. So, Dungeons and Dragons, for example, sometimes people like to spam abilities. I'm going to magic missile. I'm going to magic missile again. I'm going to smite. I'm going to smite. I'm going to smite. I'm going to sneak attack, sneak attack, sneak attack. This game, it's like, if a player starts spamming, add +5 to their difficulty, right? The whole point of this, in a nutshell, is if the result you want is simple, you can make the action to obtain it as complex as you want. And I wish, this isn't a mechanical thing, but I wish more people embraced this role-playing trope. Hey, Cam, what's going on? Hey, and there, Colin Pate. Good to have you here. All right. In other words, if all you're trying to do is beat up some nameless, what they call like grunts, mooks, crunchies, cannon fodder, which in this game, of course, you have to throw a ton of cannon fodder at characters. You can leave piles of dead in the hundreds in just one session in this game. And that's the whole point. And what happens is, basically like minion rules, they don't have hit points. If you hit them, they go down. So as a game master that runs this game, you can throw dozens and dozens of baddies at unnamed, what they literally call capital letter unnamed characters at these at your player characters. They can just mow them down. And the whole point is to be creative in how you mow them down. So if you want to, I don't know, there's two unnamed guards guarding the safe. How do you want to take them out? I shoot them both. Okay, that's yawn. Here's another thing. I roll under the gunfire of one of the guards. I put my foot into the throat of one guard, and then I take my knife, stab the other guard in the throat, but they're not down yet. So I do a spin kick and push one guard's head right through the bars, cracking his skull, while the other one, gurgling blood out. I go up to him, walk up to him slowly, and take the knife and run it right around his head, nearly severing his skull or something like that, right? That's what this game is about. And those descriptors are things to really have fun with. So awesome stuff. Got to keep moving. We'll go to two more things. Blood of Heroes. And the artwork is not bad. But if you remember an old DC Mayfair game, there was some legal consternation when it came to the ownership of the rules versus the IP. So DC hired the DC hired the writers to come up. DC Comics hired the writers to come up with a game so that people could play their DC heroes, Superman, Batman, and all that kind of stuff. And they had rules, and it was from Mayfair Games. And there was a legal split, an IP split. So DC took back what they wanted, but they argued and won and got their rules back. And they created this game called Blood of Heroes. And it uses the 2D10 system. 2D10, I'm going to call it exponential system. And it uses the charts where you roll 2D10 and you match your characters, what they call APs. And everything is measured in APs. Time, distance, strength, power, durability, everything's measured in APs. And it made it very easy to go, well, my strength is 15. The wall has an AP toughness of 12. We know what to look on a chart. Maybe someone is, my intelligence to figure out this crime, Batman-wise, is an AP of 12, and the difficulty to discover Riddler's riddle is an 8. We look on the chart and see what it is. My flight is an AP of 17, and the distance is an AP of 23. You look at the difference, and you look at the AP of time, and that's how long it takes you to get there. It's a pretty elegant system, and allowed the use of characters like Superman and Darkseid in a numerical manner that flowed very easily, because sometimes it breaks systems when you get characters that can damn near shatter moons. So very good system. And lastly, let's see. These were produced in 2001. All right, so I'm going to I'll end with this one because I've got plenty more. But we come to the end. These are called the Kingdoms of Calamac. And I've got one, Kings of Calamac. It does say Dungeons and Dragons at the top. Kingdoms of Calamac. And I think you could probably find these. And there's a ton of adventures. All of these called Kingdoms of Calamac. And this is something that I really miss. I really do miss this from the deep past. And the reason why I show these, first of all, these were about late 90s to early 2000s, 2001, 2003. This is before OGLs. Anyway, what I love about these, because I'm going to have to show you the back of these, is that each one of these was written in the exact same world and in the exact same territories. And even on the back right here, it shows you a little clip of a map that comes with every single one of these. And it was a world map, and it shows you exactly where every adventure took place. And you could very easily tie these together. So they had, using my wrong finger. There's a map, and it shows you the zero in, large map. I mean, there's a zero in, and it shows you what location it was. And I really like these. Again, there's a map, and it shows you exactly where every one of these adventures took place. And if the players travel around, we often hear of sandbox worlds, and these were created in a sandbox world. So if you wanted your players to go from one to another, you could. If they just wandered around randomly, they just wandered around and end up getting involved in all kinds of shenanigans. And I really like that. So that's going to be enough for today. I've got plenty more books to pull out, but yeah, there's some other stuff in there, guys. Like Voldemort's spamming finger of death repeatedly on Harry Potter. Yeah, power word embarrassment. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I know it's a little bit late. I know that we had some issues. I know that this WoTC OGL thing is just, it's constant. It's taking over people's social media feeds. Some people are tired. There's lots of people who don't really know what they're going to do. It's crazy. So I'm just gonna say that, like, let's give some love to some other third-party creators. Maybe we should have already been doing this. I hope we get a number of really big third-party creators start playing some other games and promoting some other types of game systems. Maybe going back in time as well as getting broader in what we like and finding some other fantasy. So, guys, thank you very much for hanging out. It's Friday. Everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend. As a matter of fact, I will come up with a schedule and try to roll back into. I know this WotC stuff has been taken over, but what I loved, what we are not a one and done. Cam's like, have fun, everyone. We're not a one and done. We like to have a subject and be able to talk about it. And sometimes one of the hassles is we'll have a show today, leave, and then you guys are like, oh, I forgot to talk about, or this reminded me. So what I used to do is we would do the same subject Monday through Friday. We would talk about dumb stuff like unicorns Monday through Friday. We talk about giants, monsters. We would talk about play styles or horror, or hell, we would talk about romance and all kinds of things. And I think I really want to get back to doing that, where we would bring up a subject and we get to talk about it all week long. So, guys, everybody take care. Everybody have a great one. We're going to take ourselves out with a little bit of music. And guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Bye.